Welcome to this JMC webinar, Minnesota MCCC EdFi work session. My name is Jake Vanskoy, head of training here at JMC. Happy to be joined by Rachel Cox and Greg Gilman. Rachel, you want to say hey to everybody?
Hello, everyone. I'm Rachel Cox. I am located in West Central Minnesota. I'm happy to be joining today. I am the team lead for resources, so I help write and publish a lot of those helpful articles that walk you through this MCCC process.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And Greg?
Greg Gilman, based out of Lake City, Minnesota. Been with JMC for 25 years and specializing in state reporting. I'm a development lead.
Awesome. And as I mentioned, I'm Jake, and I'm an Eastern Iowa guy, which is exactly what you all want, is an Eastern Iowa guy talking about Minnesota state reporting. But I feel like I've hung out enough with Greg Gilman to know a little bit about what I'm talking about here today. So today, the floor is yours to help streamline your school's transition to MCCC via EdFi reporting. We want to provide you with an opportunity to ask questions and receive assistance at any stage of the process. In this session, we will discuss common questions, provide answers, and help you prepare your school's data for MCCC reporting via EdFi. Let's take time to reflect on your data setup and submission process. Please feel free to ask any questions at any time. Rachel will be keeping an eye on our question and answer feature. We've got some things that we're prepared to do, knowing that maybe some of your questions are building specific. If we need to allow you to screen share, we could probably do that. The thing is, we don't want to show any sensitive data, any student sensitive data or anything like that. So we might be able to help you out on back channels as well. Otherwise, kind of the way that this session works, if you've been a part of it in the past, is we give you the high level of the data setup and submission. We kind of run through things one at a time, field any questions as we go, and hopefully provide you with some insight as to why you're doing the things that you're doing, and giving you the opportunity to ask questions of our experts. That's kind of the strength of these sessions. So with that, before we get going, I do want to point out, if many of you probably have already viewed this, but if you have not, this is the place to start, is our YouTube video on 24-25 Minnesota MCCC EdFi reporting. So this video is the whole enchilada, if you will. And if you expand the description in YouTube, we have time-stamped all of the specific things that you would do to not only prepare your course data, but then submit your course data and work through any data quality errors that you have. You can click to any one of these points. So if you have a question about, like, oh, I don't know, adding MCCC course data, you can click that link. It's going to take you right to that spot in the video, and you can follow along that way. Another very handy thing that folks do is they actually download the PDF of the presentation. It's available, a clickable link. You click this, it's going to tell you the file is too big to preview. You can just download it and have that up and next to you as you go through your submission. So the third and final plug that I will give is for Rachel, and I'll let Rachel probably speak to this better than I will even, is our help center, which is located in your widget. You can click this help center link, and it's going to take you to our external help center site. So you can actually pick this up and view it. So Rachel is, as she mentioned, the resources lead. She has spent a lot of time updating our resources, working with our full team to update our articles so we can see individual articles here. So is there anything that you want to point out individually on this page here, Rach?
Just the searchability. So if there's something specific that you're looking for, you can use that search bar at the top. And especially if you do this in tandem with the presentation or the video that Jake was talking about in YouTube, the presentation is really built off those articles. So if you just want to see those how-to steps, you can type in some of those key phrases and find an article that matches that. And one more thing that I will note is I did put a link to that YouTube training in the Q&A. So if anyone wants to go in there, they can grab that link.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And coming up soon, if you've kept an eye out on our upcoming webinars, we're going to have a webinar that gives a high level of state reporting. In tandem, hopefully shortly, we have a reorganization of our help center that helps kind of direct folks through the process of submitting MCCC course data along with regular MARS data as well. So those Minnesota articles that you're probably looking for right there at your fingertips. And with that, let's get into preparing MCCC course data. First off, has your school imported course data, or do you have any questions about this part of the process? So the import course data process, as we have import course data from a prior year, this article pulled up. One of the most helpful features of these articles, I feel, is the pathway to get to the spot where you do the thing. Doing the thing is in general pretty easy with this, but I'm going to go to Schedules Course, Import Course Data. Hide that bad boy right there. The other thing that I'd like to point out with this is we can search for help and say import course data. I can find my article and then I can say, oh, import course data. I go to Schedules Course, Import. All right, Schedules Course, Import Course Data. And the article is actually going to follow me from one page to the next. So then, if I need that step-by-step tutorial, I've got it there. I can always minimize and maximize as well. So I can see my screen and I can open it right back up and go to where I'm working from. So nice little ancillary helpful tip there for you. But, I think my helpful tip for this page would be to read the text that's on here. This is going to tell you exactly what this process does and what you can expect out of it. And as you see up here in my red at the top of the screen, the import course data from a prior year has already been run. It was actually run on 3/7/2025. So if I see something like that, I know that I don't need to import course data. It's already been done. If I'm not seeing that alert up there, I know that I have to run this process in order to move forward with any submission. So Greg, Rachel, anything to add about this course data import?
No, not really. I think you've covered it well.
I feel like it's a basic process. If you're worried or if you're wondering about what it is going to import or what it's not going to import, as I mentioned, read the on screen there. It's going to tell you this option will only import a value from the prior year if the value in the current year has not been set. Therefore, it should be safe to run more than once per year if desired. So if you get to this point in the year, if you have not imported course data and you made a bunch of changes, let's say you did a bunch of scheduling, you added a bunch of courses, it's not going to overwrite anything that you've done this year with what you've done from last year. But what it will do is pull in some of those state-specific fields from last year to help you get started with that the state-specific data entry, so you don't have to spend a whole bunch of time re-entering stuff that you entered in the prior year. I do like this preview import feature because it tells you exactly what courses will import data and which courses will not. So in this case, it's saying, hey, we have courses with no matching names or numbers from the prior year, meaning we're not going to overwrite any data because that course might not be the same as what it was last year. We have course number 4, and that apparently was not 3rd grade ELA last year. So we're not going to pull any data in from that. So yeah, Rachel, if there are any questions, I'd field those about the import. Field those right now. Otherwise, we can move on to the next important part of this process.
Yep, it looks like we can move on. No import questions.
Sweet. Question number 2, do you have any questions or need assistance regarding teacher, room number, or course grade setup? So teacher, room number, or course grade setup. If you're following at home on the regular video, the full video, editing teacher details, editing room details, and associating MDE recognized grade values are the three sections that we're kind of talking about right now. Most of this is done underneath attendance, staff. We've got rooms and teachers. I'm going to go to rooms first because it's at the top of the list. And probably the most important thing of note here is that your site number for the room matches up with the room description here. And, you know, this room description is used for scheduling, primarily for scheduling. The site number is your building number. I'm going to show you where you can find your building number so you can see if it matches up. You can see kind of all mine are in the same building. I have one building, so they should all match up. But if I go to Minnesota Mars edit school data, I can see the school number, which is what's going to correlate with that field there on the attendant staff rooms page. So if I know for example, my 7th graders are in a different school or have a different school number, if I'm under attendance staff rooms, and I know my 7th graders spend all of their time in room 117, 118, according to the schedule, I can come in here and I can change that site number to match what it should be. Probably the only time you would do that is if you receive notifications or an error message after submitting some data that you have a school number that doesn't match. So anything to add or any questions about that?
I don't know if this is applicable, Jake, but I know I was helping a school with an MCCC error a couple weeks ago, and they were just missing a room for a course. I don't know if it's beneficial to show like why can I not think of under schedules course? Yes, the course data, the course data list.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I use that to just kind of do a really quick look, like, hey, do all of your courses have rooms assigned? And then I was able to see everything kind of at a glance.
Yeah, that's a great troubleshoot. The first problem you probably had was, which course doesn't have the course number, right?
Yeah.
So, I would use the course schedule info and, only include the student or courses with students enrolled. And then I can take a look down this list and, it looks like course 400 doesn't have a room attached to it. So that's step one, identifying where the problem is. Step two would be fixing the problem.
Right.
So we're going to go to the edit course data page to fix that. I'm going to go to 400 there, find psychology, and lo and behold, there isn't a room assigned to it. So I can just click edit and assign a room. All right. So with that, next piece is taking a look at your staff, your teacher entry. The big thing here from a state reporting perspective would be that the file number is listed for your teachers. If you have teachers that are holding credentials, they should have the same file folder number that matches their name. And that's going to allow them to teach certain courses in your school. So you have authorized teachers that are authorized to teach certain subject areas. When those teachers are associated with a course, much like we did on the rooms, we're going to associate a teacher as well. So it looks to see if we have the proper file folder number for those. So questions about that, comments about that? Kind of some basic setup that you probably already have done. Probably nothing that needs your attention until you get an error notification that says, hey, you have to set this. So third thing, the state reportable course grades. This is done under grading utilities, edit grade values. And over here on the far right side, you can see we have a state reporting grade. And one of you two Greg, are you prepared to talk a little bit about this state reporting grade and kind of how it would be used in conjunction or why it's present here?
Well, historically in JMC, you can define whatever grades you want to use as long as you assigned a grade point value to it and it all makes sense to you locally in your school board. But with regard to the state, they gave us a very specific list of grades that you have to map your local grades to something that makes sense to the state. Early on, they just left it wide open to see what they could get, and they got all sorts of stuff, and it was just a little too Wild West. So they came up with this list of grades that, okay, these make sense to them, so you just need to map your grades to something in this list. Otherwise, the state won't recognize the grades that you want to submit.
Very, very well put there, Greg. I think the thing that I would reiterate from what you said, your school can use whatever local codes that you feel are necessary to communicate student learning. So some elementary schools might use N's and U's for unsuccessful or needs improvement or unsatisfactory. But you notice like, oh no, the state doesn't recognize an N or a U. Well, what does a U really mean? If a U is minimally acceptable, you could map that U to this one value. Obviously, we've got failing grades and passing grades. So if it comes right down to it, you're in elementary school and you maybe use numbers or a combination of symbols that aren't present. What it really boils down to is, did they pass the course or did they fail the course? And you'd have if you have specific questions about that, I would reach out to Karen Millette with the Minnesota Department of Ed, just to see how they would prefer you map. But pretty much most circumstances, I think, are met with that list there. So you give the state reporting grade, you click update, and that's all there is to associating a state reportable grade. Rach, anything to add or any questions?
Nope, nothing to add, and we don't have any questions right now.
Great. All right. Now we're moving on to setting up course data, another important part of the MCCC process. Any questions on adding details on the state-specific section, state-specific course, or MCCC tabs? So we are on, if you're following along here, we're on Schedules, Course, Edit Course Data. And the three tabs that we're talking about here are state-specific section, state-specific course, and MCCC tabs. We have a great article about associating course data. State reporting in Minnesota. This walks you through each of those, and it does a pretty good job of explaining what
That's
each of
the
these.
Iowa version there, Jake.
Oh, I clicked on the wrong one. My bad. It popped up Minnesota. There it is. There we go. Yeah. Different states have different fields that they want you to fill out. So if you are, if you have any questions about what data is supposed to go into what field, again, we're not going to tell you what to populate in there, but this gives you an explanation of what these things mean. So if you see that instructional minutes and you're wondering, oh, what do instructional minutes mean? It's the total number of instructional minutes for the term listed there. So to go back to the spot in JMC where you'd find this information, I'm going to start with the state-specific section tab. Each of those sections is going to have the data that's listed here along the top. You got the term, the period, the section, but then you've got the instructional method, which is what the state wants to know, the instructional delivery mode, and mark indicator, and some various things that are explained in detail on this article right here, and it never fails. I'm in the middle of a webinar and I have a dog that just wants to play with a squeaky toy here. So give me 1 second and let me get rid of the dog. Got one for sale. All right, can't guarantee that puts an end to it, but it might be a momentary solve. Sorry. One of the things that I'd mention about this is the mass assigned course section data. This is this is the quickest and easiest way to get data assigned to your courses. So if you're missing, say, a mark indicator, probably not all that common, but I'm going to go to my state specific section here. And first off, mark indicator. What is a mark indicator? Let's go to a mark indicator defines the course section as reporting a course grade to the state. So does that course section report a course grade to the state? If true, if yes, I want to put a check mark in that checkbox. Well, pretty much all of my courses do report to the state. So we can mass assign that data element. Mark indicator. Oh, there we go. Marking indicator. I want it to be true. So I'm going to put a 1, and I want it to be true for all courses. I assign that value. It's going to populate that true to all of my course sections. That's great. That's exactly what I want. But let's say I have a study hall or something like that that does not report a grade. I can go back to that one course or that one study hall, find it here on my list, and then say, maybe you don't. Oops, sorry. Chose a wrong button. Edit course data. Let's grab course here. I can go to my state specific section, then I can go to that one course and mark that not true. So just a helpful tip on using that mass assigned course section data. Again, pretty much everything that you would see on there. We're going to talk about bell schedules here in a moment, but could maybe go through the rest of those elements. That edit course data page. Go to the state specific course tab. This is where your state course code is. Star assignment code. Oh, let's see here. That star assignment code, that one always gets me because you don't necessarily have to use JMC to report your star assignments. Greg, can you speak at all to the star assignment?
Yeah, let's go back to your JMC. It's, for the most part, it's contained in the Minnesota module in a separate submodule. So if you would go in your sitemap in the Minnesota module in the star submodule, and there's information in there. If you go to assignment codes, I think it is, there's where your assignment codes are. And most people who do the work would put them in on this page. We just thought it might be handy to also display them on the edit course data page as well, just for reference.
Gotcha.
That's the main reason it's there. If you don't do star reporting in JMC, you can just ignore that field in general. It's probably going to be blank in your JMC.
Very helpful. Thanks, Greg. The last tab there, the MCCC tab. This tab, the data elements on this tab are they're dynamic. So depending on the purpose for the course, the fields that you see on this page might change. Particularly when you get to early education reporting or college course reporting, some of these fields change. A general, what would you say? And I know this is putting you on the spot, Greg, so I apologize. Maybe Rachel, you can chime in on this too. What do you say? What is the most common, just regular course record type course level, or does that even really matter if it's just a regular ed English 1 for all freshmen course.
Most, in particular for high school, most are going to be scheduled. So record type 1, they're just regular scheduled courses.
Gotcha. So there you see an example of how that page would change. You know, I chose 1 and now it gives me the remainder of my options. So
and most are not going to be dual or concurrent. So if you change that course level, most of them are going to be basic, remedial, general, enriched, something like that. And so once you set the first 2, then you're going to get the set of data elements you need for that type of course.
This standard addressed is that's a popular, popular field, popular question that we get. We can't tell you what to put there. It's kind of dependent to your school as to what standards you're addressing with these courses. But, I think state's probably a safe bet for a general course naturally. Or any questions coming out about any of these tabs? MCCC tab, the state specific course tab, state specific section tab.
Nope, I'm not seeing any questions, but maybe you and Greg want to walk through what kind of like a typical dual enrollment course looks like. I know we get a lot of questions about reporting those college courses.
Well, jeepers creepers here. Here we go, Rachel. Actually, I skipped ahead. Working with college courses. We'll come back to do instructional minutes, but I can't not pounce on a segue. All right. So here we're talking college courses. All right. So how can we assist you with the process for creating college courses or assigning college course grades? It's an excellent question. Glad you asked, Rachel. Remind me to go back in the presentation now. The first thing that I would definitely have you do is refer to our YouTube video, because this has those specific, the courses that you're talking about, or the values that you're talking about. What do we put in there for a dual enrollment course, for example? So I'm going to find the section that talks about working with college courses. I'm going to skip directly to it. And, this is probably easiest to do in the PDF, which is why we would probably encourage you to use the PDF version of this. I'd actually have to download it. So it might take a minute to download because it's a huge file. And it's probably the 15th time I have it downloaded to my computer, maybe more.
You hate to have run out of copies.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we're going to kind of scroll through this thing until we can get all the way to working with college courses. There we go. Slide 9. So the handiest, I think the handiest slide on this is actually, what is this? Slide 101. Yeah, this will explain, all right, first off, how do I set it up? Okay, well, if you find your course that is a college course, we're going to go ahead and let's just make this English 1 course a college course. You have to set your alternative course name. That's going to be the name that the college or reporting institution provides. So you might call it English 1, or you might call it College English. They might call it English 101. Go ahead and enter that name in the alternative course name field. And then it's a matter of setting it up with the MCCC tab. And if we are dealing with a course that is part of, let's see here. Let's go PSEO or part of an articulated agreement. We're going to select articulation agreement A, dual concurrent enrollment D, or not applicable X from that course level drop-down list. And then it actually kind of defines in the nitty-gritty slides what goes with what. So in an articulation agreement, you'd select 1 from that record type drop-down list, and you'd select A from the course level drop-down list. So if this is an articulation agreement, that's how you'd set it up. If this is a dual or concurrent enrollment, we would select 1 from that record type and D from the course level. So I think that answers your question there. How do you set up a course that's a dual or concurrent enrollment course? First, you would enter the course name in that alternative course name field. You would select 1 for the record type, and you'd select D for dual concurrent enrollment. And then, as mentioned before, there are a couple other fields that'll pop up. You've got the post-secondary institution that is providing the instruction, along with the college course code there that you can enter on that page as well. So does that answer your question, Rachel?
That was it. Thank you.
All right, wonderful, wonderful. Any other questions about setting up college course codes or college courses or dual and concurrent?
There's nothing in the Q&A.
It's moral of the story. Check out this section here, slide 94, and slide 101 gets you to the nitty gritty. Like 102 gets you to the nitty gritty for how to code those. The other piece, associating course grades, college course grades. This is actually done on the schedules, student edit schedules page. And we're going to reveal it over here, the student section details and overrides. So we've got a student that's taking college math, and I need to provide a college grade. So this is the JMC grade that they received for taking college math. If I click the student section details and overrides quick link, here I can see, all right, here's my college math course. I click the edit link, and now I can enter the college grade that was earned right here in the college credit that's earned in those two fields. So the student section details and overrides quick link, just in general, it's kind of a nice tool for either students that maybe finished part of a course and earned credit for part of a course, but didn't earn credit for the full thing. So if you have to override the credits earned, so for example, this math course is worth 1 credit. If this student actually only earned a half credit for this, I can go in and enter my half credit in here. That's a JMC credit or a high school credit. And the same thing with the credits attempted override. If they only earned 0.5 and only attempted 0.5, that's going to impact their GPA versus a student that only earned a half a credit but attempted a full credit. So the college earned, college grade earned, the college credit earned. If there is no override for the start date and the end date, you can leave those fields blank and you should be just fine. Click that update link. Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
You can think of this page as just a little palette of extra things that occasionally pop up for some kids. We didn't want to clutter up the main edit schedules page or edit grades page because it's already pretty busy, as you can see, with term grades, exam grades, and comments and the schedule itself. So we put all of those little extra goodies onto that edit student section details and overrides page.
Agreed. Yeah, that's perfect. All right. Any other questions there?
Nope, we don't have any questions.
All right, quiet group today. Quiet group. Bunch of lurkers, as they say. So I'm going to back up actually and talk a little bit about reporting instructional minutes with JMC. The first question prompt that we have is, your school calculating instructional minutes using a bell schedule, or are you manually entering instructional minutes for your courses? I think what I would say about this in general, if your school uses a rigid bell schedule, which is typical in a middle school, high school situation where you have first hour, second hour, third hour, fourth hour, up to 8th hour, and most every day they meet from the same times. First hour is 8:05 to 8:55 and so on, with your passing periods in there. It's more typical in a middle school or high school setting. That's when you're going to want to use JMC to calculate instructional minutes. Elementary situations are a little bit different. Schedules go sideways. Maybe Monday and Tuesday is reading block in the morning. And then Wednesday and Thursday, because of your specials, you have to move reading block to the afternoon. And Wednesday and Thursday, it's maybe an hour long, and Monday and Tuesday it's 45 minutes long. It's pretty hard to calculate a variable schedule like that. So in that case, I would lean toward entering minutes manually. And you might think, but Jake, entering manually, oh my gosh, it's not that difficult, honestly. It just requires a little hand calculation. So I'm going to start with the manual entry, and then I'm going to show you the calculated. So the manual entry, again, we're on that schedules course, edit course data page. The manual entry, you can see on the state specific section, you can see the instructional minutes over here on the right. So I can go in, click edit, and I can enter those instructional minutes. But what is way more efficient would be to use that mass assigned course section data. So I can come into course assign or mass assigned course section data. I can choose instructional minutes per term non-calculated, and I can just enter the value. So I have to think about, all right, in a typical semester, how long will this course meet? So I have to figure out instructional minutes for that. And we realize, like, you have early outs, you might have no school on snow days, or something like that. It doesn't have to be like down to the minute calculated. This is your best guess. It is what you anticipate your students sitting in the class for. Like if we started the year and ended the year here, what would it be? So you can figure that up, whatever that number is going to be in minutes, 3,500, for example. Let's say all of my third grade classes are going to meet for 3,500 minutes for a semester. I enter that value, and it's for my third grade, so I'm going to choose third grade. So all my third grade values, 3,500. Assign that value, and it's going to let me know, here are all my third grade courses. We've updated instructional term minutes to 3,500. So that's all that manual entry really involves. If you have to go back again and like change a couple courses, you can do that. You can just go back to the edit course data page and enter those courses individually. But makes sense. Any questions, Rach, Greg? Anything to add to that?
There's no additional questions coming in, and I don't think I have anything to add. It's pretty slick step to be able to do that in mass.
All right, cool.
The other thing I would maybe add is just a reminder that these are instructional minutes planned. You don't need to worry about little quirks in the schedule like snow days and so forth. It's you don't need to go through and tweak it based on, oh gee, we had 5 cancellations, I guess I have to remove X number of minutes from this because of that. It doesn't need to get down to that, but they do expect a pretty darn close number based on the instructional minutes planned. So you can't just throw something out there that's 10% close. It probably should be about 1% close.
Appreciate that, Greg. So now moving on to the calculated version, you need a little bit more data setup to get the calculated version in there. But this is really handy for high schools that work off of a 9-period day or an 8-period day. And you don't know when English 2 is going to be taught. Maybe it's going to be taught 2nd hour. Maybe it's going to be taught 4th hour. But you know how long 2nd and 4th hour are. So what you can do, and I'll show you the setup first. This is under attendance, bell schedule, and class periods. We'll start with editing bell schedules, but really all this is naming a bell schedule. So I've got my high school schedule already named. It's pretty simple: add schedule, name it, update. So I've already done that with my high school schedule. Editing the class periods, you can see I've got my high school schedule here. I've got my 7-period day, and each of my periods in that day have a start time and an end time assigned to them. And this is going to help out with that calculation. So where does the math come from? This is where the math comes from. There is an additional option here for a course that happens not just during school, but maybe during school lunch. So if your 5th hour is actually an hour and 15 minutes long, but 20 minutes of that hour, 15 minutes, students spend in lunch, you can say 5th period is during school lunch, and then give the start time and end time, and that lunch time will be factored into the calculation. So, you define your class periods, and then when you assign a bell schedule and class periods on the edit course data page on that sections tab, so we've got the bell schedule over here and we got the class period over here. When you go to calculate, it's going to use a few of those things. It's going to use the calendar, it's going to use the period, it's going to use the bell schedule to apply the instructional minutes or the anticipated instructional minutes for the course. So again, I would go to my mass assigned course section data. I would choose, so here, like, for example, I can choose, like, I need to assign a bell schedule. I can choose my high school bell schedule to go to all of my 9th grade, maybe assign it there. And then I can do the same thing for my 10th grade, assign it there, assign it to my 11th grade courses, and then my 12th grade courses. I just don't happen to have any of them set up, but here we go. There's some 12th grade courses. So that assigned the bell schedule to it. And now I can calculate by going to instructional minutes per term calculated. And then I can choose, let's go courses, sections in 12th grade. If the section already has manually entered data in the field, I can choose to either not change it or overwrite that data. And then in bold right here, it tells you the calculation and how that how the computer's arriving to that instructional minutes number. So it says calculate this value for all course sections based on bell schedule, class period start and end times, the calendar, the term start and end dates, and the course section. So that's the days met in the term, and the course. So it's the block length. So there's actually a lot of data that's going into this calculation. And once you assign that value, it's letting me know that, hey, we have a couple courses here that have seniors, and we have applied our math to change the instructional minutes to this value right here. So again, I can go back to my edit course data page, and I can check out course 400, which is my psychology course, and I can go to my state specific section tab, and I can see my instructional minutes as they were applied. So you're like, well, wait, those are a little bit different. SEM 1 and SEM 2 are a little bit different. My guess would be there are fewer days in SEM 1 than there are SEM 2, which is why the instructional minutes are less. So how'd I do? That makes sense?
Made sense to me.
I would hope so. You a time or two, and Greg, you developed it. So as long as I got it right by Greg, I think I'm good.
You're doing fine, Jake.
Appreciate that. All right. So we went through bell schedules using the mass assign feature. We talked about working with college courses. Now it's on to the submitting EdFi data. So all of those things that we just talked about there, they're going to work in tandem with the submission and the data quality review process. So you get to the point of submitting your data, and it's all about submitting data, receiving that error sheet, and then going back and fixing those errors. So everything that we showed you with the setup, if it isn't set up properly, you're going to trigger an error when you try to submit your data. And if you receive that error, you would go back to any one of those pages that we just touched on and change and make your updates and then resubmit data. So first off, has your school enabled MCCC EdFi data collections, and were you able to work through the items on the tables tab of the Minnesota EdFi Start Year page? So where is this, you might ask? We are under File, Online Settings. Take that back. File, Administrator Options. File, Administrator Options. We're going to go to EdFi Settings. And if you're like, I don't know where EdFi settings are, I could always search here, EdFi settings, and let's see, probably a EdFi settings explanation here someplace. So what that is, what is all involved in my EdFi settings. So again, use that help center to your advantage. The big thing here is that you have MCCC data EdFi or EdFi data collection enabled. And that would be a check mark right there in that checkbox. So if that's not checked, you would need to get that checked and click save. Your key indicator of whether or not that's turned on, I'll show it the way that it should be first, and then I'll disable it to show you what you're not seeing. So I'm going to go to Minnesota EdFi Start Year. And on this prep tab, you see all of these items, these checked items. And if you're just submitting MARS data via EdFi, you've never submitted MCCC data via EdFi. If you don't have that enabled, you're just going to see those 4 check marks. But now that that checkbox is checked, I have all of these other checkboxes enabled. So again, a common thing that we see, keep going to the wrong page. That's unchecked, save. This is what you're going to look at. So I do get this question quite often, like, hey, I'm at the start year page, I'm on the prep tab, and I'm missing a bunch of stuff. According to the video, I should have all of these checkboxes, but they're not there. Yes. Go to File, Admin Options, EdFi Settings, and turn on MCCC. Now all of those will be displayed. And what EdFi is, or what this is just enabling a data exchange between the state and you and your system. So the prep tab are a checklist of items of things that you need to take care of. You have to enter in new students. You know, you probably throughout the course of the year, you're going through most of these things anyway. You know, you have to set a calendar. If you haven't set your calendar yet, you know, your teachers aren't going to be able to access grade books or anything like that. So set up your calendar days, set up your bell schedules, everything that we kind of just talked about, all that course data, import your course data, go through these one by one, and then move left to right on the tabs, top to bottom. Your update, you click a button, and this is going to pull information from the state to your system. That's on the tables tab. So it's updating all school tables. It's getting that most recent information from the state to your site. So course numbers or course codes, not course numbers, sorry. Anything that your site might need to connect to the state gets updated from this tables tab. And it might take a little bit. It's pulling down data, but let it spin, let it work, let it do its magic, and you'll get a summary of what was updated. You can see right up here if I have any errors during any of these submissions, they'll be displayed right here. I've already updated all of my tables recently, so I know there's nothing more to update. I would normally go top to bottom through each of these buttons, and then I would move left to right to the general tab and update each of these one at a time. You can see, oh, here's my first one that's not done. I need to do that here. The rest of these are time-stamped, so I can see when they were last submitted. So I'm going to go to the first enabled button that's not done. I'm going to click. And now it's showing me, hey, you have 8 errors, okay? What do I need to do to fix those errors? I know that at first this looks overwhelming, and you might be like, oh, I don't even know where to begin with this. You can take a look, and it's going to give you the course number 300. The state code or the state course code is 0. which right off the bat, I'm like, oh, that's probably not right. We probably need a valid course code in there for course 300. So I can print this summary, which is really handy, so I don't have to bounce back and forth between the page. Pull up my summary, maybe print it out, have it sitting next to me, and then go back into my site and make any changes. So I know that for course codes, I would go back to the edit course data page. I'd find my course number. That was course 300. And it was a course code issue. So state specific course, and right here, oh, there's no course code. So math probably needs a course code. I can search it. College math prep, that sounds about right. Save my changes. And now typically what I would do, I can always rerun that and send that button, or push that button again and resend all of my course data. Or I can go to Minnesota EdFi update course, and then I can just update that one course. Do it one at a time here. Make sure that everything is fixed and it works. Oh, there's still an error. Probably see what that error is. Invalid course level specified. So course level, that's on schedules, course, edit course data, 300. It's probably on my MCCC tab. Yeah, course level right there, not specified. That's a problem. Basic or remedial, save. Okay, now I fixed that error. Probably would have been more helpful if I would have read all of the errors that deal with course 300, so I could have fixed them all in one shot rather than resubmit and, you know, get the error. But I'm a hard learner sometimes, so that's the gist of it. That's the gist of state reporting: is submit. The system will tell you if there are any errors. Use the PDFs to diagnose the errors. If you ever have an error that you're like, I'm not really sure how to fix that, or I don't even know what this is saying, reach out to us. You might have to set up a time to meet with a trainer so we can explain to you what you're looking at. We might be able to answer that question quickly through the chat or through a phone call. So comments, questions?
Still no questions, but I'll just reiterate, you know, if you need the help, if you are struggling with the errors, just send that PDF in.
It's a great call. If you reach out to training@jmcinc.com or you reach out to support@jmcinc.com, please include the PDF of any errors that you're receiving. So download that PDF file. That works better than screenshots. That works better than, hey, I have an error, help me. Like, if you send us this, then we're going to be able to probably go in and diagnose the error and respond to you quickly with whatever your fix would be. As mentioned, if you need any assistance resolving unexplained errors, shoot them our way. If there aren't any questions, before I get into JMC news and upcoming events, Greg or Rachel, do you have anything that you would like to add about MCCC reporting?
Well, I'm just marveling at how a guy from East Iowa can talk about Minnesota coursework so eloquently.
Oh, Greg, I'm blushing over here. You can't see it, but thank you. I appreciate that. I've had a great mentor, you know, so there you go. With that, there's no better way to end this webinar than with JMC news and upcoming events. If you check out our upcoming webinar schedule, April and May are filled with, we've got all-in state reporting support coming up next week. As mentioned before, if you want a high-level view of what state reporting actually is, what it does, and how JMC benefits you in your quest to submit your state reportable data, check us out there. You'll also be hearing from Greg there too. Keeping up with student transcripts coming up that last week of April. May starts out for our Wisconsin folks, some end of year state reporting, and the second week of May, back to school registration. We're already thinking about next year, right? Back to school registration, office setup, and data collection. Never too early to think summer before we start thinking next school year, though. So JMC's summer conference is coming in hot with fun games, prizes, good food, and can't miss training sessions. In Minnesota, we're going to be at the Plymouth Community Center in Plymouth, Minnesota on the 18th of June, and in Iowa, the 20th of June. The best part, if your school has the most attendees, you'll win a pizza party for your building. So grab your tickets today. Link is available here. I think if you search summer conference, it might be available shortly in our help center. You'll have plenty of opportunities. I'm sure you'll be seeing your inbox blowing up with all kinds of advertisements for the summer conference. Should be a great time. Tara Sosby is our keynote, which if you are interested in hearing the Till 360 message from the perspective of Tara Sosby, middle school teacher, former middle school teacher. She's got a great message about leadership. It should be awesome. Our CSS team will be dropping by districts this month to ensure you have all that's needed for successful state reporting included. They'll also treat you to the taste of this year's summer conference fun. So keep an eye out for the CSS in your neighborhood to be stopping by with some goodies and an invitation to our summer conference. So grab up all of your questions, have them all organized and ready to go, and nail them when they come in the door. From one-on-one virtual work sessions with a JMC data expert to 100+ how-to articles on state reporting, we're here to ensure that your data submissions go smoothly. Learn all the ways that JMC can support your state reporting over on this blog. It's almost time to turn JMC's online registration. If you're wondering how that works, tune in for our May 14th webinar, our step-by-step setup from enabling district and building level settings to creating crystal clear health questions. Then join us for our May 21st work session where trainers will answer any of your questions. For Rachel Cox, Greg Gilman, I'm Jake Vanscoy, thanking you for joining us for this weekly webinar, and we will catch you on the flip side.